Welcome, everybody, to another edition of IPJ the Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Gonzalez, and I am joined by my fantastic co-host, Miss Brandy Bailey. Brandy, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
Fantastic. How was your week?
Oh, it's been great. It's been lovely. The weather, nice and cool. Love it.
Perfect. Yeah, we've been dealing with a little bit of increase in the heat here in my neck of the woods, but hopefully it'll level out and we can get on to fall. I'm really excited about those temperatures coming down a little bit, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Remember those days of chilling in the Central Valley and you're trying to get to bed and it's still 85 degrees outside at like 10, 11 o'clock at night?
Yep, that was a cool night.
Right. Oh, yeah, good times. Did you ever happen to take advantage of the canals?
No.
Oh,
No,
I did.
I never knew what was in there.
Yeah.
No.
Our parents really didn't care. They just threw us in it and said, cool off and get out. And so that's what we did. But we went canals. I remember my aunt, my Tia Jovita in Winton, California.
Oh, Tia Jovita?
Yes, my Tia
Stop
Jovita.
it.
Yes, she used to pull over when her little orange car, it was a little orange car she had, and we'd pull over in the middle of nowhere, and we'd jump out, get out, and run over to the canal. Okay, Mil, jump in. Oh, what are you telling me? I don't want to get in there, Tia. Jump in, you cool off now, come on. And sure enough, I wouldn't want to, and I would go. I'm rolling down the canal, trying to get up the side of those banks. You're getting all scraped up. Pendejo. Goes running over, grabs it.
My tia always had the chancla, so
the
whatever she said, it happened.
Pow! Oh yeah. They can get you those chanclas, and those suckers can fly too. They got the precision. They go around corners.
They were the first drones.
Right, yeah, the first drones. I hear you. That's so funny. Okay, so anyways, I want to get on to a really interesting story coming to us out of Atwater, California. Or now, actually, Atwater, California. It's like a subdivision area outside of Atwater, right in Merced. It's called McSwain. Do you know much about why it's McSwain and not like Merced or Atwater?
No. I'm not clear, but I know that it's the bedroom community for Atwater, and so it's a very nice area.
Mm-hmm.
And it originally started out as an area where there was a lot of agriculture and things like that, and then it became more of bigger houses, acre lots. Very nice community.
Yeah, and they've got a lot of beautiful homes there, a lot of beautiful properties. The people there seem to be pretty down to earth, good people who just want to be able to raise their families in big, open, widespread areas. You know that they're taken good care of because it's what they can do and they can afford to do. But yeah, so they have this great little community there, and it's a great little school district too. And it's come to our attention that this upcoming McSwain school board election, that they've had a candidate enter the race, and he's got. I personally looked at some of this guy's stuff and thinking that hey, this guy could really come in, I guess, and make some good positive change. But after looking at this guy's social media, I'm a little worried about this guy. Let me show you what I'm talking about here, okay? I'm going to bring up his photo here. Now, this is Scott Rodener, Roduner, I believe it is. And Scott is going to be running for, or he is running for the McSwain School Board. I believe it's District 5.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the area breakdown.
Okay. So, and then Mr. Rodener, I don't know too much about the man. I don't want to say anything wrong or bad about the guy because I don't know him personally, never met him. But I do know that his family owns quite a lot of land out there. Apparently, they were able to motion the county board of supervisors and get a road named after one of their relatives. It's what can happen when you got money. Uh, right? I mean, shoot, if I had $1 billion, I wanted you to name a road after me. You'd do that, right?
I would.
Thank you. Gosh, I appreciate it. I'll make sure I hook you up with $1 million or two.
Okay.
So yeah, his family's got a nice little plot of land out there. Looks like all the family kind of lives there. They all got their own little houses. Nice to have a little commune like that. Wish more families would be able to do that. It's nice when family money comes in and you get to reap the rewards on that. So that's nice. So you can't knock him for that. But what I do knock him for is for when people who have all that going on and then they want to you know post stuff like this. Can you read that okay, Brandy?
I can.
Okay. So it basically says, you can see it though, right? You see it okay?
I see it. Yeah.
Okay. It's basically if trucks don't work, and he's talking about the protests that were going on with the truckers, I guess, and the Biden administration. Somehow, Biden's creating tyranny. I don't care what your political beliefs are one way or the other, but apparently they had a big protest over Biden's tyranny, and it was with trucks. So then he said, if it doesn't work with the trucks, you might use this bulldozer here. Does this bulldozer, does this remind you of anything?
Yeah, I remember actually watching the special about the gentleman who built it, and it was actually over a land issue.
Yeah.
And he spent a lot of time, a lot of energy to make sure that he was safe in there. It was going to be hard to stop him. And he started bulldozing pretty much the town that he was in. So if the trucks don't work, then use something like that is questionable, because that just means if one thing doesn't work to break things down and put them into shambles, then let's just make sure we make it worse.
Yeah, and that's scary. That's scary on many levels, especially when you're talking about somebody who's running for a school board position. Let me move on before I make that point, because I want to show you this. Because I mean, sure, somebody could be upset at something and decide to post something, but when you continually post something like this, it starts to become how do you say, a pattern of behavior. So it seems like this is the type of person, Scott Rodiner, and this Rodiner, whatever it is, based on his own postings. And I don't know this, I don't know the man, I don't know this about him at all, but based on his postings, he seems like he is on the edge.
Well, and
And
yeah, I agree.
go ahead.
I agree. This is, if this were something that students were posting and it was found on their Chromebook, as an administrator at a school, and let alone a board, this is questionable, and we would most definitely be checking into their mental health and where they are behaviorally.
Right, because you want to make sure that that child isn't about to explode, right? And cause
Right.
damage to others or injury to others or themselves.
Correct.
So this was the second, post on. He's a reasonable man, he's saying here, but don't push him to do unreasonable things. So what had me thinking is, man, if this guy's at a school board meeting and parents are pushing for something that they want for their children, and for whatever reason he has his reasons against it, if they push too hard and they push enough to win, will that cause him to go get a bulldozer like this? He might be building on his own property somewhere. I mean, he's got a massive amount of property, not that he would, not that he is, but it's just it's like I look at this and I don't know the guy and I'm thinking, what is going on with this guy's head?
Well, once I get past the grammar issue in the statement, um, yeah, then I question where that could possibly go.
Yeah, and then this one right here. You know what that date is, correct?
Correct.
That's the date that the gentleman, I don't even want to say his name, went on a rampage in his own community, destroying innocent people's property, innocent people's livelihoods for his own personal issues with whomever he had them with. They were civil issues, be dealt with in court. Yeah, things are tough sometimes with dealing with the system, but you don't go tearing up everybody's personal property because you can't deal with things.
Well, and I
So,
think we also have used that statement, never forget, as something that we dealt with other catastrophes that were not somebody just being malicious.
yes, yes, and I believe I understand what you're referencing is the horrific incident of 9/11,
Correct.
and people trying, and he's basically bouncing off of that, which is disgusting in itself.
Yeah.
And then this one right here, I think probably shocks us both the most. Um, Again, if you have a certain political belief, that's fine. It's good, it's healthy in this world that we live in this country. Um, but it's not healthy to use inflammatory imagery um, to I don't know what he's trying to do other than showing people that if you don't listen to everything that he says, he'll basically go get his steamroller and destroy everything with his "Don't tread on me" flag thing here.
Well, yeah. So that's the original. I mean, this is obviously a spin-off of the "Don't Tread on Me" symbol that has the snake or cobra on it. But I think the words "tread on those who tread on you" is not something that we teach students or want them to even think about, because it isn't something where we want them to basically repeat bad behavior. If it happens to you, we want to re-teach them. And that's kind of a behavior analyst's job.
Mm.
And we work with them and counselors to make sure that they redirect behavior, because that message right there just, um, it's profound.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you brought up behavior analyst because there's actually a behavior analyst in the Rodner family. Excuse me, funny in the Rodner family, and this is Elizabeth, and Elizabeth is in fact a Merced County Board of Education behavior analyst. Am I
I
right?
believe Merced City Schools.
Merced City Schools behavior analyst. And here she is enjoying a nice um, beverage. We don't know if it's alcoholic or not, but I'm sure it's got a little alcohol in there. Um, to each their own. But she looks like a very nice young lady and doing her thing. But then, of course, she has another side to her where and I don't know who she's posting these things to, or why would anybody decide that it's a great idea for a behavioral analyst to post these types of things, on social media. It's just dumbfounding. I
Well,
don't understand.
I think the issue was that, when you are a person who works for the community, you have a social responsibility and a professional responsibility to monitor what you put out there for families, kids who are on Chromebooks a lot to see. Um,
Mm, mhm.
so I find that concerning.
Yeah, but you know what I found most concerning on Mr. Rodner's page is that he's still fighting against Muslims. Um, I guess there was this one post that was a sponsored post that showed up, I guess, on his news feed, and he decided to screen capture it and post about it on his own page, um, and basically saying, that no one can turn to Muslimism based on one verse, I guess, read, which is not a big deal. But then we see another roadrunner, um, Mark Rodener, make a completely disgusting comment. Um, So, like, why do I want to have a ham sandwich right now? You
Yeah,
know?
I'm almost speechless because uh, to be able to represent everyone in a certain community, uh, it doesn't even it defies all intelligence and reality for someone to post something up like that and have those ideals in their mind, um,
Mhm, mhm.
and be able to really represent all people, all students, all parents, all of their constituents. Um, it's concerning.
Yeah, yeah, and, especially when you're working in the schools right now, and kids are having issues, adjusting in certain, at certain times, understanding and dealing with certain things, and I don't know. I personally think that we would want to give our children tools that they can use in a positive way to alter the trajectory of the behavior that they're on, where it's going to run them into a major, train wreck. Um, Instead of projecting that if I don't get my way, then I can just simply use guns, or I can use my bulletproof bulldozer
Well,
to get what I want.
yeah, students and parents, um, in my experience, have always used social media as a way to get to know other people better, that they're dealing with. And so, if you find these things on their social media, it it could possibly, and this is my opinion, feed into directions that you really just don't want it to go into. And
Yeah, yeah,
as a person who is in the educational system, but also an elected official, you're responsible for making sure that you're responsible.
right. Absolutely. Now, I encourage everyone to please go take a look at this guy's Facebook page, and maybe encourage him to, remove some of this stuff in a positive way. Don't be rude. Don't be, don't be threatening. The guy. There's also another one on his page that's very racist, and I decided not to post it. It's an image of a black hand that's wrapped in a rainbow colored garment, reaching for a red family, and there's a white hand that's come across, draped in the American flag colors, grabbing the black hand from doing that. Now, the
That,
symbolism of that alone. Go ahead.
yeah, that that to me was uh, shocking, shocking. Um, and I'm surprised that that would even be something that someone would post on their page, especially someone who isn't putting themselves out there as someone who could be possibly racist, because it isn't something I would post. And I would hope that anyone that I dealt with never posted something like that, because that is just um, not okay.
Yeah. Now, to let everybody know, I did reach out to Scott for an answer in regards to these Facebook social media postings, especially the one I sent him a screenshot actually of that particular one. And he responded by saying that he did not believe that our forum is the right forum for him to discuss any of the issues facing the McSwain School Board or him for his social media postings. And but he did send an apology when I sent him a screenshot of that, saying that he apologized for that post. But in the interim, he's not removed it.
Well, and I was very surprised that he tried to friend me on Facebook when we aren't friends. I don't know him, and uh, then he sent me a message um, related to something that his wife had publicly posted. So I'm not really sure he's ready for the position that he's trying to get.
Right, definitely not ready for prime time for sure. And then I wanted to ask you about this because you've been in this world, and what I mean by that, being in this world, in the school, admin whole thing, all because it's really a whole web of things going on. This right here is Elizabeth Rodner's um, public records pay that she's been receiving. And when I looked at this, it stood out to me several things. One is that she starts off there. There's more years below that, but I only pulled up these from starting from 2015 and going to 2020. Um, in 2015, it shows that she was a PT instructional aid driver. So I'm kind of trying to wonder what that is. And then also, I'm seeing that her pay was $12,000 a year in 2015, and then within 5 years, she's now making $140,000. So,
104.
well, it shows here total pay with
Oh,
benefit
yeah, total. Yeah, with the benefits.
$140,000, and of course, we like to go off total because we pay in for those benefits too.
Yes. So
So,
it appears, and I'm going to say appears because I haven't looked at her records or pulled up her credentialing. Um, but this shows me that she was a classified employee who was working for the district, and she was maybe working part time, maybe not. I see benefits coming out. Usually, benefits are coming out if you're more than part time. But as a classified employee, the pay is going to be definitely on a different pay scale. Merced City Schools has that posted on their website, on their HR department. Um, but then, as soon as you see this increase in pay and then also the benefits, then generally that is to be assumed to be a full-time position, and a credential or a degree was obtained.
gotcha. So yeah, so in 2017, she goes to being a behavior analyst, and her pay is increased to 56,954. Now, that's probably because she probably got the position later in the year, maybe, and so her pay didn't fully reflect until the next year when you see the full amount of pay being reflected at 117,945. But then again, you're seeing over the course of so regular pay at 89,640, and then up to 104,660 within what 1 2 years. That's pretty awesome. I mean, I wish I could get those kind of pay raises.
Yeah. Well, and in the educational system, generally those increases are definitely deserved based on getting credentials, getting certificates, getting extra training, getting another degree. So you may
Gotcha.
see, but there's generally a basic uh, pay grid that you have steps, and so as the steps go, um, then that may be how it is. And so this is also something that the school board takes care of, as
Mm,
far as overseeing how payroll and also how districts are making sure that employees are deserving of pay increases based on them being more educated and also certificated.
yeah, and you can see that it definitely looks like the pay has been increasing, over the years, maybe possibly based on that. And I think you pointed out something very, very important that I was trying to get to, and that is that she is obviously educated now enough to know the position that she's holding within the Merced City Elementary School District, or whatever it is, the
Merced
school
City
district,
Schools.
Merced City Schools. She obviously is educated enough to understand what she's doing there. So why wouldn't she be educated enough to understand that her behavior can really reflect poorly um, on her, especially if these kids are seeing this type of behavior. This lady just straight up flipping everybody off, like, "Hey, screw you." I mean, maybe I'm putting too much into it. Maybe I'm just old school, but it just kind of blows me away when I see stuff like this, um, because and it's posted on her social media. Now, yeah, this is part of it's not like it's pornographic or anything. And it's completely nice and fine and everything. Um, but again, you're a behavior analyst working with kids. You would think you would have some discretion when it comes to your social media postings. I believe there was a there's one video that's still up of her on the pole, but there's another one that I believe had her just draped in some really sexy clothes and everything. Do you know about
Yes.
that? Uh-huh.
Yeah. There was another one. It was
Okay.
taken down. It was taken
Okay.
down
Okay.
once it was brought to attention.
Eh,
Um,
Have you
I
seen
think
the other one, by the way, that
I
I'm
have
speaking
seen
of?
the other one.
Okay. Okay.
I
Okay.
have seen the other one.
Okay.
It's definitely uh, a different posting than the one that was reposted after the other one was taken down.
Yeah, and
Um,
this one seems to be a little cleaner, right?
it's a little different than the one that was, yeah, posted. Uh, I think I just have to say, uh, as someone who was schooled by a lot of administrators as a person coming up through the ranks in education and in the systems, I appreciated all of their input on appropriateness, especially when um, we were moving into the world of the internet. And I remember being called up and out on certain things that were posted. And I know that it's still happening in districts in that local area. And I know that you can say that this is your exercise regime. This is what you do for sensory of for whomever. However, the real issue here is this something that we teach our kids? Because even if we put a poll up in our sensory room at the school,
Mhm.
are we really having kids do the same things with the same clothing on?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. If this is um okay for these, to be used as tools for these kids. I mean, is she advocating, or will she be advocating for these stripper poles at the in the elementary schools, or even in the McSwain? Maybe her husband will go to bat for them in the McSwain school district to get these into the girls' gymnasium.
Well,
Oh,
it's not a gender issue.
mhm, yeah,
If
yeah.
the argument and the discussion is that this is for sensory, um, you know, involvement with students and helping them, and also maybe your own personal children, um, how will that work? Where's the training for that?
Mm,
And also, how do you get certified for that? Um,
yeah.
it's a great question in education, and how are you going to pay for that? And are PE teachers also going to include that in their regimen?
Yeah, and personally, I would be a little concerned to make sure that that does not end up in my child's curriculum, personally. But well, I think we kind of let people know a little bit about this gentleman and his running for the McSwain School Board. Like I said, it's a great area out there, great set of people, good people that I've met out there. I'm just worried that it might get a little tainted by someone who's not using good judgment as an adult. We really have to be aware of what we're posting out there, especially when we're advocating violence if we don't get our way.
Well, and I think it's responsibility on both sides, because it's responsibility on who's posting what and how they conduct themselves. because, if you put yourself out in the public and you work for the public, then be ready for what comes to you from the public. And then also for parents and for, constituents and also other board members, investigate and find out who is it that actually is going to be sitting there making decisions alongside you.
Yeah, that's really, really important, people. You got to know and trust the people that are making the decisions for your children in those schools, and that they're not using their own personal, ways of decision making in order to bring in some bad decisions. So.
Yes.
All right. So, that's Mr. Scott Rodiner. I apologize if I'm getting that incorrect. I'd really like to get you on the show, sir. If you see this podcast, please reach out to me. You got my information. Would love to get a rebuttal from you in regards to all these things that are on your social media, because it's a reflection of you. And right now it's not reflecting very good. You know what I mean, Brandy?
Yes, I do.
So, anyways, we want to get now into another topic, and that is guardianships. We talked about it last week a little bit. And then Mr. Robert Hansen had a great story come out where the grand jury is now getting involved.
Yes.
What did you think about that? Yeah, what did you think about that?
It's finally about time. It's too bad that it gets to that situation. But older, I dealt with it with my mom. Obviously, it didn't go to a grand jury level, but it's very difficult when you're dealing with the elderly. They're people that you knew when they were younger, and they made decisions with all cognition, and then all of a sudden, you're dealing with someone who isn't able to make all of their decisions on their own. And if you put them into placement, then oftentimes you're leaving it up to other people who aren't necessarily related to them, maybe don't even really care. And I hope that's not always the point, but it has come to fruition in some places. And it just, when we talk about golden years, I would hate for it to be that way.
Yeah, especially in their golden years. We don't, we want them to enjoy them. Well, I want to enjoy my golden years.
Right?
Yes, ma'am. So anyways, we had a great conversation with him and Michelle Robertson again, who joined us on the show. And so let's get into that interview right now, and then we'll discuss a little bit on the other side. Here we go. Well, that was a very interesting story to go over, but I'm so excited to move on to our next guest, Mr. Robert Hansen from NewsBreak, Newsbreaker app. Please follow him there on some great, exciting stories he's been writing lately. Just follow his work, get involved and get proactive. And one of those great stories that he has written recently kind of bounces off of our last show from last week when we spoke about guardianships and conservatorships with our guest, Michelle Robertson. So Robert wrote this great story called Alameda County Conservatorship Drains Estate of Elderly It Cares For, Grand Jury Finds. Now, this is important because you people have been fighting for a long time to get somebody to listen to you about this, and finally you're being heard. Looks like the grand jury is about to get into their findings. I want to let everybody know that we are also being joined right now by our guest from last week, Michelle Robertson, who was involved in the guardianship mess that's going on in our system. And she's with us here now. Welcome to the show as well, Michelle. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you.
So we were just getting into Robert and the story. And so Robert, this story that you wrote is really, really important because finally, like I was saying, somebody's listening that has the power to do something.
Yeah, so this grand jury found that the estates by the elderly who are taken under conservatorship or under the care of the, public guardian ends up draining their estates from their loved ones and leaving them nothing if not in debt afterwards. And the report that I cited in my article was from Alameda County, but this is not something that's isolated to Alameda County. It's something in most counties throughout California, it seems like. And I think if you wanted to go over some of the technical jargon, that'd be a good idea to do that, because like I said, it does kind of get in the weeds and it's hard to explain to people sometimes. But that's the gist of it. This elderly person, Mildred, there was a contention between her niece and then another distant cousin about who should have guardianship. So then that's when the county took over, and Kathy could never get guardianship back of her aunt, even though Mildred wanted to live with Kathy, and she was going through some delirium, dementia, and so the lawyers were using that against Mildred to give Kathy back guardianship of her aunt. And she eventually died in the care of the state or the county, who was, by all accounts, neglecting her and her health. And there's some recordings that I was given from Kathy about how of Mildred saying how unhappy she was in these different care homes.
Wow. So this is like a story that's really, really very serious.
Yeah, no, it's they take their loved ones away from people, and not only that, leave them in debt. Like I said, with in this case, they valued, because luckily Kathy was able to retain the mobile home that her aunt was living in, because she was co-owner, so they didn't get to include that in her estate at the end when she died. So the total account at the end, they valued her estate maybe $14,000, but then the county said that they owed her 80 some odd thousand. So I did the math. They still owed them about 70,000. Kathy didn't even know that until I pointed it out to her. I was like, they're still saying that you owe them $70,000. And she's like, oh wow. She didn't even, because there was so much paperwork involved. And Kathy's story is still not over. Actually, I still have to do more on her, because she's been going to the board of supervisors trying to get support, and she's found some, but not as much as you might expect.
Yeah.
And so,
Michelle, this kind of, I'm sure, is right up in your wheelhouse here as far as the things you've had to deal with. Let me get some thoughts from you.
Well, it all ties into me too, because Kathy's the person that I chose to be my dad's conservator of the estate. I met Kathy through all this, and I basically had to find someone to be conservator of the estate, and I was going to be conservator of the person, and I chose Kathy. So she is my dad's conservator. So she also is realizing how they left my dad destitute. So it's a unique position that does not happen very often. She's getting to see the devastation that they left as far as his finances, the reverse mortgage, just that, he's destitute now, and they're still not done being paid for everything they've done. And my dad is, the house will be gone after he goes because of the reverse mortgage. So, and I mean, he can't buy a hamburger now. It's such a bad situation financially. We don't even know the depths of it yet, but they got probably they got a lot of money, and they're still not done taking money, put it that way.
right.
Is
Even
that
though
typical?
they're at the picture, they're still going to be paid more out of
the
reverse mortgage, I guess, when that because they have money to get
They'll
back.
take whatever they have of the estate, and then they'll still have a balance left over, saying that it's not, that whatever their estate was didn't cover whatever the bill was from these service providers, or in this case nursing homes or lawyers.
So once you get your family member into the court system, it's a cash cow for them, because they can keep assigning to certain things and people, and these are services, these are things that people are providing, and so they want to be paid.
And you'll keep litigating to try to get your family member out, and every hearing is more money in their pockets.
Well, what's the solution to this crazy problem then? I mean, you've got the grand jury that's going to be taking a look at it. This is just in Alameda County, though, which is a step, right, Robert? Or
it's a huge step, I think.
Okay.
So if the county listens to the grand jury and takes their findings seriously, which isn't always the case. We have a case in Sacramento where the grand jury found that Sacramento County had misused COVID funding, and they basically said, we don't care. Wow. So it really depends on how seriously they take the findings of the investigation, which it's a good step for people. It's at least them being acknowledged, people who are stuck in the system, right? Yeah. And there were recommendations from the report that said that the county shouldn't charge people for it. So they should just not even, which if they took those recommendations would be good for people. Yeah. I think it should go a little deeper into having more strict guidelines in when the county can take over parental guardianship of somebody, and be more lenient on when they give it back to family members. Because go ahead, Michelle.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Looked like you wanted to say something.
I was going to say, to that end, I mean, really, it is true. I mean, if they're going to follow the recommendations, but that being said, the laws in place right now do prevent this from happening, but they don't follow them. So, I mean, if they would have followed any of it in my case, it wouldn't have went to where it did, like the capacity exam, and us being able to say, hey, there's no capacity exam filed. You can't prove that my father's incapacitated. That would have been the end of it at that hearing, but they lock you out of the hearing. So you're not allowed to say that. So they've got a way to get around every single probate code regulation that there is. So it's, yeah.
Yeah. And I think more transparency in the courtroom, which is obviously as a journalist, something that, I'd be pushing for in every case anyway.
No,
but particularly in family courts, they keep them hidden from the public so that they're not privy to what's happening and the shit they get away with.
You've had some dealings before, Brandy, with the system coming in to deal with families and little ones and stuff. Is this something that you've seen as well within the youth? I mean, are youngsters also being targeted and put into programs and systems, and parents are being charged up the yin yang? And
well, no, I think the youth is different. I know, dealing with my mom's own personal issues when she started to have the signs of dementia, had I known about kind of the preventative of when someone is starting to get older, you start to see the signs. And I think this is almost probably a level of economic status, because if I would have known, I would have gotten an attorney, an estate attorney. We would have had a living trust, will, everything written out. That's your preventative. And so everything would have been outlined and done, but it's very expensive. And then when you go into probate, I dealt with probate in Nevada, and the issue with that is, for every $100,000 that the person owns, you go up 1% of how much the attorney's going to get from what it is that they own, with a cap at 4%. But then you have court documents and costs. So it's really just, it is this dichotomy of either or. So you want to prevent this from happening, but at the same time, it really pushes people out, because sometimes there's the language barrier, sometimes it's the money, sometimes it's all of these things, and then they're just stuck in the cycle, and then the cycle happens, and it's just really unfair, because, like we were talking earlier, Matt, about the golden years are supposed to be the time that you are, yay, I'm so glad I made it to this time. And then, you get into this position. And one of the things I did read is that Kathy's third cousin took her to live with her against her will. So is that what happened?
Yeah.
Robert?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I read that in the report, or in the
that was part of the issue, as Mildred was going into dementia. And when there was that incident at the house, the third cousin came in and took her aunt out of the house. And when shortly afterwards, she took all her belongings and left the mobile home uninhabitable.
Yeah, I saw that.
So there's an issue with Kathy's third cousin in that she's a professional fraud scam artist and does this to people, or has been a history of that.
Yeah.
It's for simplicity of the article and not add too much to it. I kind of didn't add that, or didn't touch on it too much if I did, because there was already a lot there. Like I said, there's more on Kathy that I still have to do, but it was already, like you said, with the jargon that was in there and how much I had to explain to people, I thought it was already a lot in the first place.
Yeah.
Well, and I think one of the, sorry, Matt, I think one of the things that I had to look up because I didn't know was the vexatious litigation.
Litigator.
Yeah.
That's something that where if you bring too many suits to the court that they find are not valid lawsuits and you continuously do this, then they label you a vexatious litigant, which means you're not able to bring lawsuits or challenge lawsuits in the court because you've already wasted enough of their time.
Right. So it said.
So
it
she
said
tried doing it. So maybe I wasn't clear enough on that one. She had filed 5 different the third cousin, Rivera, had filed 5 or 6 separate restraining orders on Kathy in this back and forth trying to get, custody of her aunt. And the court, after enough times, ruled Rivera a vexatious litigant because she kept bringing frivolous lawsuits to the court.
Yeah. And I see that it says also with malice and without good cause. And so, that's just without good cause, you're not showing due diligence or actually just being a person that really wants to take care of the person for the purpose of taking care of the person.
Exactly.
That's horrible.
Yeah. I'm looking at this story and I'm thinking to myself, this looks like there, the light, very small, but very small light at the end of the tunnel for people who are enduring such, lawlessness by the courts and by these guardians. Michelle, does this give you?
Too.
Yeah, does this give you any hope, Michelle? As you read an article like this, a story that Robert covered here, does this give you any hope?
I was really happy about the grand jury findings. It gives me a little hope, not a huge amount of hope. But I wanted to say something about the cousin, the vexatious litigant. They align themselves. The court and the attorneys and the conservator will align themselves with that person to keep the momentum going and the infighting happening. That's how they
allow them to keep filing.
Right. So that person is going to be their ally. So Rose Rivera was their ally, the cousin, and in fighting Kathy and the back and forth, because that keeps it going. And it doesn't matter that she took her against her will, because they're doing, they're going to do the same thing
and
too.
It shows a division within the family, like you would get, like
they need that conflict, like I was saying last
which
week.
is the same thing like you brought up, right? And like what you were saying, Brandy, with probate, it's the same thing. And when someone's passed away, and you get fiduciary, to cover some disputes between family members in an estate battle after someone's passed away, it's the same thing that they do during when someone's under guardianship. They'll have a dispute between family members, and they use that to say, oh, look, we still need to be the third party involved in this estate.
Well, how do we? Oh, go ahead.
So unfortunately, we've been going through this because my mother-in-law died last year from COVID, and they have a very large estate. and nothing was written prior. So probate is definitely getting a ton. And it's really just not fair, because economically, for whatever position you're in, it really should be across the board, fair, people treated the same. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. And the main person is the person who needs the care. So try to put someone in a home that takes good care of them, that you don't have to give up your firstborn child. Try that.
And when you or more, right? And when you have a family member who's willing to take on and care for their elderly family member, and save all the money that you are going to get charged in a home, why not leave them there unless there's some, again,
Right.
attorneys, probate, fiduciary, in this case, care homes that are contracted and partnered with the counties.
Yeah. Just so everybody knows, we're having a couple of little audio issues there, Robert, on your audio, but I think we got the gist of it there. I really think that we need to make more noise about this issue. How do we make more noise, Michelle?
I don't know. I mean, it's such a complex issue, and it goes so deep. It's, that's the part that is scary, because they've been doing.
We need more journalists to care about it.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Some more of the national mainstream media to get involved. That was always the problem when I was trying to help families expose certain things that were going on in Merced County and other places around California, is that you get the story out there, and then the mainstream media, they wouldn't cover it in the first place, and now they won't even cover it even that much more, because now they just say, well, it's already been covered.
But I think this is also an issue that needs to be implemented in social worker programs in universities. There needs to be more of an awareness, and they need to be taught how to manage this before they get into the field, and they're not ready for it. I mean, my sister deals with IHS and different entities as a social worker. And it's got to be built into the programs as people are coming up. And then it also needs to be just brought into their everyday training of, hey, we need to make sure that we're paying attention to this population, period.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get too far going, I know Robert Hansen, this is his special day.
I know.
It is his birthday today, and he was kind enough to give us some of his time on this wonderful day of his. And so we want to thank him for that. And Robert, if you need to go, we understand completely. You have other things you need to get done. Michelle, if you could stick around for a little bit, we'd really appreciate it.
I unfortunately do.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me. This is a very important topic, and more will be coming out on Kathy and hopefully in other conservatorships in the future. And I wanted to just tease a little bit. I've gotten more on foster done. So, and I've been speaking with other retired officers. So there's good and bad things. She's next in line to be captain. There's no real investigation going on, even though the city might say there is. So we need more pressure and more.
I am clutching my pearls.
Well, I have been known to go to Merced with my camera and follow city officials with my camera asking questions.
My pearls.
She is
You better stop it, Robert.
On administrative leave, but she's not. A source of mine told me that they spoke with her, and she was kind of blowing us off. Like, she's just like, yep, I'm still in line to be captain and doesn't care. So obviously There's more work to be done. Yeah, we'll get that work done. I know you will, Robert. You're pretty awesome at what you do. Keep in the fight, buddy. Appreciate you so much. And happy birthday. And I'd like to talk more about Emily when you get a chance to come back. When I get it out, you will know. Absolutely. Thank you again. Michelle.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Happy birthday, Robert.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
That's pretty awesome. That was Mr. Robert Hansen. from a NewsBreak app. Definitely follow him and check him out.
That was very interesting. Leaving us on the edge of a cliff.
Yeah. Did you know about that story, Michelle?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
How can he do that willingly on his birth date?
What a great little birthday present. Leave everybody in suspense.
I am calling him out.
That's how they do it.
Yeah, right. So Michelle, with your family situation, your father is now bring us up to date on what's going on now with your case.
We got the reverse mortgage on the house, which is a disaster. And I knew it was a disaster. So basically all the cash that they took out of it went to them to pay their fees. So he got none of that. And so he's just getting his Social Security and pension, which is like nothing each month. And Kathy takes care of that. And but the reverse mortgage is going up every month. Obviously, that's what it does. And we're actually talking about trying to sell it and just buy something that's paid off right now before it gets crazy. You know, she's trying to preserve something for, me and Sabrina the way it was intended to be, which is rough at this point. But she thinks we need to sell it and look for something that we can just pay off and that we don't have to deal with this anymore, and that's a hard thing too. Of course, I think that is probably the only.
Oh, I think we lost a little bit there. Michelle, you still with us? Your audio just it went to mute. Oh, there it goes. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, sorry. But I have reservations about trying to, making my dad move at this point. I don't know how he would handle that. I mean, it's like, that was what this is all about, and it's such a mess. It's just such a mess. Everything they've done has just, that was one of the options we were tossing around in the beginning when this happened. Was we were either going to sell the house, do a reverse mortgage. Those were the two options, basically, ourselves. So what they did and what I would have done or was going to do, there's no difference. They did exactly what I would have ended up doing, only we were, cost us, about 200, 300,000 in the process, and the house. It's just, yeah.
Okay. You had something, Brandy? Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, I was just kind of doing research as she was talking. So you're still in Merced, correct?
Me? No. Yeah. No, I'm in Richmond.
No, she's a Bay Area.
Oh, okay. So your dad is also in Richmond?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So there are particular attorneys who sometimes they go pro bono. I was thinking that you were in Merced. So there's a particular attorney that I know that's dealing with this reverse mortgage with one of my friends. And so he's schooled in how this works in dealing with the title company or the people the banks who say they own the house. So generally what would happen is in a reverse mortgage, they put X amount of dollars into a savings checking account, and then the person lives off of it. And then there's draws that happen. And then when, the person passes, then, they draw the money back and say, sell the house. And then we want whatever is due to us. And so in this situation, I think you honestly need to definitely work with someone, because with one of my good friends, the mortgage company came, hard for them, saying, we're going to take this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And that wasn't even where they were able to go. So you have to be, kind of and I know it's really hard to move a parent.
Yeah.
That's the hardest, because that's the sensitivity part, and the business part is on the other side. So, it's really important, although it costs a couple $100 to talk to somebody about how to get around it and make sure that they assist. It's actually worth the money, because in the long run, you're right. I mean, you and your family are supposed to be, getting what's due to you, because your dad worked so hard and did everything he could, and it could be lost so quickly.
I know you're right, and honestly, I think it's already lost, because we were not, of course, privy to really the fine print of any of this. I kept asking for the papers, and the conservator that was one of the caveats of the transition from the other conservator to Kathy and I, was that he was to handle the reverse mortgage, which I was like, why can't Kathy handle it? Just switch it over and she'll handle it. It was a big deal. They made it very specific that he had to handle it, which means I just know that was a bad sign. And like you're saying, that all the money that they got out of it, what you're saying, would go into an account, and they would, my dad would get, there's none of that. They got all that. They got it all. Everything that they got out of it, they took to pay themselves. And like I said, we still owe them more. I don't even know where that's going to come from. And my dad's not getting any money from it. He's not getting anything monthly from that reverse mortgage. It's all gone. It's all gone.
Well, yeah, because they do the appraisals, and then they adjust, how much they're going to be willing to do the reverse mortgage, and then what they're going to pay to the family when the house actually sells.
Yeah,
right.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, you mean afterwards, right?
You mean, well, yeah. I mean, if he moved and you were to sell it, then they do a reevaluation.
In a normal reverse mortgage without these people involved, it's still dicey, like you're saying. But imagine this situation where all of that money in the beginning that you should have been involved with your own,
absolutely,
is just gone. It's just gone out of the equation, really, and still more needed.
I'm just perplexed when I hear this. I met your father, and he's got a very, if anything stands out about him to me, was his relationship with your daughter. And he had a great smile about him. She was fantastic, and they seem to have a great relationship. What blows me away, though, is that everything that he has worked so hard for you, for her, and now it's just taken away by people who have no entitlement to it whatsoever. That worries me as a father. I'm working my butt off, and I'm saving everything I can, and I'm trying to get my kids through school. We have home we're paying for. What's going to happen when I get old enough, and who knows, something happens where we end up in a court? Is this gonna, everything that I'm working for now, going to go to some attorneys and homes that have no entitlement to everything I've worked for? It's mind-boggling.
I'll tell you how that won't happen. I'll tell you what you can do to make sure that doesn't happen.
Please.
Like, keep your family squabbles out of court, period. Just don't bring your stuff to court and think that they're going to fix anything, because nothing will be fixed. It will be more broken than you could ever imagine.
I'm going to say the opposite, Michelle. I'm going to say, bring your attorney in now while you're alive and competent, and you put your business on paper, and then when family squabbles come up, it's never a question, because my son, on paper, it's done.
But that's not true, because we had all that. My dad had a trust, he had a will, he had a medical powers, everything was to me. They toss it. It's toilet paper to them. this is standard. Every case you when you talk to them, that's what they do.
Well, then you have a legal suit against somebody, because if it was actually documented and done, then what you have is a case.
That's what I have been feeling forever. And it's just like everything that you believe to be true in these cases, everyone says that, oh, well, they can't do that. Well, they are doing it. And no matter who, and when everything is in the hands of this probate court judge, it's a different land in there. The rules don't apply when you're in this courtroom.
You hit the nail right on the head. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Michelle.
Right?
Yeah.
I've been in there. I've been in there. Mm-hmm.
It really is something, but logic doesn't apply. And I believe I should have some recourse as well. I mean, there was no,
you have to find that person that's willing to take that case and really care about it. And I'm sure there's advocacy groups, especially where you are. You have like a huge, population of a lot of different people. And actually you can just pull one of those law students out of school and say, hey, this is going to be your money to the bank. Let's go.
Hey, also, my attorney, David Safarati, when you get a chance, call them. They're waiting to talk to you.
This is my phobia. This is one of my phobias.
Yeah, no, I told them about you, told them about your case and everything else, and they would love to be able to talk to you. It's difficult because once they start digging through all of your stuff, it's reliving all that over again.
Well, I don't really care so much about that. It's just, I don't know. This has been I guess because I've tried so hard to find anyone to listen to me and to take this as legally. I mean, I have a stack of evidence, like great.
Oh, Michelle, you have to put your Superwoman outfit on and go for it.
Wonder Woman.
Just you have to go. What is it? Okay, I think Matt probably has more of the movie, probably cliches and different things. You have to go to the mattresses.
Yeah.
Where's it coming from, Matthew?
Take it to the mat.
I think
Godfather.
Godfather. There you go. Yes.
Yeah.
Take it to the mattresses, girl.
I'm ready for it. I can do that part. It's just, I think psychologically, it's a fear of being told no, and then everything is over. I think
no is not an option.
For me, it's like, as long as I don't call and have them tell me no, then there's still hope. And it's
no is not an option.
I think that's what I'm thinking in my head.
No is not an option. So when someone tells you no, then you ask them, why is it no? And then you tell them that no is not an answer.
Yeah, I got to work on that.
And with that, we're going to have to wrap it up because we're coming up on the recording time here on my Zoom.
Okay.
Michelle, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And we definitely want to stay on top of this. So please come back at any time and let's discuss more about this issue and keep it in everybody's front of their minds.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks again to Michelle and Robert for their incredible interview and bringing us more information on those issues. What did you think about the interview, Brandy?
No, I thought it was awesome. I really appreciate Michelle sharing her story, and then also Robert just investigating everything that matters to everybody on different levels.
Yeah, he's really out there. He's getting involved and bringing the information that people really need to know the most to make informed decisions, because after all, that's what it's all about. And I'm over here clicking on my computer like crazy because I'm trying to bring up a photo of someone he mentioned, and that was Miss Emily Foster, who's supposed to be on administrative leave. Brandy, did you hear that at the end, what he mentioned?
I did. He left us on a cliffhanger. Just about the fact that he's getting some information that she's sharing with others, that she's still in line for being a captain, which it is not personal. all of these things are allegations, but if these people who have come forward, and some of them are named and some of them are not, if the allegations are true, then I would hate to see a promotion be based on that kind of behavior.
Yeah, because that really sets a very dangerous standard within the department. Basically, if you do these things, you'll get promoted. That's the way it seems. What
Well,
do you?
and I think that sends a message to people to shut up, go to work, do nothing, and just deal with what you have to. And I would hate for any workplace to be like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the racial insensitivities or the racial slurs towards other officers. I don't get it. I don't understand. How can she be promoted?
Yeah, so still allegations at this point. Once it's all put out there, I think we might know more. But if that is the case, then we're talking about 80% of the people that she probably deals with when she's out on the streets. And
Yeah.
I would hate to think that she would even treat them less than the people that she works with.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little scary for sure, but I also wanted to show you the photo here, if I can get that up. I wanted to show you the photo of the car, boss lady car, because that's pretty cool. I think if you can literally get the city of Merced to paint your name on the side of your patrol vehicle like that, why not? And then they give you a promotion too. Wow.
Well, I think I think the retirement is timely of certain folks, and um, I'm still wondering how that was paid for.
Yeah. So you're talking about the untimely retirement, second retirement of now he's retiring from the police department. Tom Cavallero. He did retire from the sheriff's department under a very shady cloud. And once again, he's going out the back door under a very shady cloud. Horrible leadership. What are you people doing in Merced? I don't understand. So.
I don't know, but I don't know him personally. I've never dealt with him personally. I'm not sure about his dealings in the sheriff's department. Um, but I would really, really hope that uh, the situation with Officer Foster gets dealt with as it should, based on everything being put out there as far as the truth.
Yeah, no, I think this also comes up with a Brady issue because she should be on the Brady list um, if any of these allegations are proven, which would basically mean that if she does arrest somebody and has to go to court, all they have to do is show that she's on this Brady's list, and then everything she says in court doesn't hold water. So, what are you doing, Merced? Why
Well,
would you jeopardize your cases like this?
so explain this Brady's list, because I don't think a lot of viewers might know exactly what you're referring to.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the Brady list basically is a list of officers who have been found guilty of anything from a misdemeanor to felonies. And this list basically has their name on it as an officer who has themselves um, is not so trustworthy. And if officers make it onto the Brady list, it's kind of a nail in the coffin for them if they try to go to court and testify, because all an attorney has to do is to find out that their name is on that list, that they have been in trouble before, and that can easily be brought into court and challenge their character.
Okay, so this would be pertinent to being convicted and found
Yes.
guilty, and then you're on the Brady list, and then it's something that comes out later, especially probably even retro with some of the cases that you dealt dealt with before.
Right.
Okay. All right.
So, and it's another issue that could come up that causes problems within your legal system, and you're trying to get criminals off of the streets when you have criminals out there arresting them. Not that she is, it's all allegations, but I don't know personally. If she heard this and she started, decided to take me to court, don't forget I get to, bring everything into court, including the people that claim she sexually assaulted them. So.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I just keep saying same thing. It's alleged. I don't know.
Yes, it is.
It's just, people are talking, and we have Robert, who has been reporting, and he's been doing a great job of just
Yeah.
making sure people keep it straight, because
Yeah.
sometimes power gets to your head.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it does, it's up to the people to call it and to
Well,
make for change.
and I think that's the end, Matt.
The people got to
Because,
call it and make a change, right?
right? And I think because when you have and use your voice, right?
Yes. Where are you going? Where are you trying to steer me to? I can see you trying to take me somewhere. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a story that we need to stay on top of. I think that we need to be pointing out the craziness of this woman about to be appointed as captain. In fact, I will be calling up some people in that county
I
next week to find out, is this really true? And if that's the case, I'm going to try and do everything I can to get a camera crew for the ceremony. We would love to be able to blast it loud and proud that you guys are promoting this alleged racist and alleged sexual assaulter to a captain position. That's going to be so exciting. I'm sure Captain Binley West will be pretty excited about that too, as well.
But isn't it ironic that weren't you also going to post something else up about kind of this racist
I'm glad you brought
comment?
that up because we did talk a little bit about that, and I didn't want to put it up at the moment because it's something that's I think is just way out of bounds. And
But if it's something that's true and accurate and posted and public, I kind of feel like it needs to be known by the public.
yeah, I think you're right. So why don't we do that now? And what we're talking about is this particular post here. And this post, as you can see, is from the page of Scott Rodunner. Rodunner is running for the McSwain School Board. What do you interpret this as, Brandy?
So I'm just going to read the words that are on Robert Camp's original, and Scott follows him, and it says, "I respect how you want to live your life, but I do not accept that you impose your ideas by manipulating the little ones." And so when I look at this, and if I just take it at basic viewing,
Yeah, face value.
yeah, I see a very strong hand
That's
that
a
is
white hand, right?
a white hand that is
Yes.
not the color of the one that it's grabbing, but then it
Oh.
also has that, um, it has the stripes of the American flag on one hand, but then it has the pride flag on the other one. But then the hand is white, or I mean, is black, and it's clawed, and it is directed as though it's about to grab the people below it. So I'm really concerned about the fact that when you are going to represent all of the community, regardless of color, creed, what they believe in, who they are, how they use their pronouns, something like this really tells you something about the person.
Yeah, absolutely. When I saw this, I was just mortified. Because you see that the all powerful white hand, and it's an image, people. My wife's white, okay, um, but it's an all powerful white hand grabbing a what looks to be weak, very um, claw like you said, black hand. So the white hand does not want the black influence on the people, nor does it want the LGBTQ community's influence on the people either. Um, it's like as if these people aren't actually people, but are actually evil. And this is what Scott is saying by this post.
But I think the the main the main words here are impose your ideas by manipulating the little ones. So you have to wonder, what is the manipulation and who are the little ones? Because
Well,
your
that's
picture
uh-huh.
gives a whole lot of information, but who are you really talking about? Is it your community? Is it in McSwain? Is it in Atwater? Is it in Merced? Where are these little ones? What are you talking about?
Well, I can only interpret it the way I see it, and it's basically it's his
As
community,
yep.
McSwain children, and he doesn't want the rap. He doesn't want the African American culture, or the fact that we do have human beings who have different lifestyles than our own, and that this is apparently um, his position on these ideas and ways of
Well,
life.
if you put that out there for the public to see, then you have to expect that there are going to be opinions, and you cannot judge someone else's opinion of what it is that you have put out there for perception to be made.
Yeah, I agree, and I think somebody's, that's close to Scott or close to that family has got to get in his ear and tell him to knock it off. If he thinks he's going to represent people in any way, shape, or form, he's gonna have to rethink his whole ideas about the people of this country. Um, we have a great division, that's going on amongst us all right now, from the right and the left and even us in the center. Um, and I just wish that people would stop and look at these posts before they post them and realize that they are contributing to the destruction of our fabric, our American fabric.
Well, and if I were a board member, a parent, a child, and I followed him and looked at his Facebook page or wherever this came from, I would, this image is alarming just by itself. I don't need someone to interpret it for me. And if my son were to look at this, he would definitely have questions like, Mom, why is there a call? I mean, come on, this is not appropriate. Not
No,
appropriate.
especially not for somebody who's planning on representing your children and their voice at the school board.
Be able to represent my child because my child is not just white.
hmm Right. And there's many in McSwain School District too, like that. I mean, it's probably a larger population of Caucasian folks in that area, but at the same time, there's also Hispanics, Blacks, Asians. We're a diverse country, and
And
that's what makes us so awesome.
well, and that's the thing. We don't have time to go backwards. We
Mm.
need to go
Amen.
forward. And if you're going to be in a leadership position and an oversight position, you need to make sure that you're representing everyone. And this is divisive and completely out of compliance with being a steward of the community.
Yeah, I completely agree. Let's get rid of that now, because that's just making me more. Ugh. Um, yeah, it's just amazing that, and he
All right,
sent me an
Matt.
apology. No, he sent me an apology for posting this, by the way.
That's
I
too, that's too bad.
Yeah, but
I didn't get one.
at the same time, though, it's still on his Facebook page.
But I didn't get one.
Yeah, and
So
I don't think he's really. I don't think he's really apologetic about any of it. I believe
no.
that this is truly an insight into this man's soul, and
And
I think. Go ahead.
that's fine. So then you have to realize that there are repercussions and reactions to every action. And so if you're going to put it out there publicly, then there's going to be people who are going to comment, and then you're going to have to deal with that, because that's why it's public on Facebook or wherever you post everything. So,
Yep.
and if I take offense, or someone else takes offense, or the community takes offense, I'm sorry, but that's the reality. And I hope that, the community really looks at this in a different way, because this is not the time for us to just stand by and allow these things to continue to happen. It is
I agree.
not appropriate. And
I agree.
if we don't make a change in our kids' schools, then we have nowhere to stand on.
Yeah. Yeah, because it all begins there at the schools. I mean, well, it actually all begins at home, but it continues through the schools. Uh, of course, not every school, well, no school is going to teach your child your principles and your values. Every school, they're basically there to educate your children on essential education. It's your job as a parent to instill those values and principles in your child, so that they don't grow up to be like Mr. Rodiner here, and hating or disliking those that maybe not that he agrees with.
But it falls to the school when each student is on a Chromebook and they're doing a research project, and maybe it's on a school board and the members, and then they see something like this, because they know how to do research, because that is part of the California standards as far as, researching. And they see something like this, and then they ask the teacher, what does this mean? So
Yeah,
it brings it into the classroom from home,
scary, right?
period.
Scary.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of IPJ the Podcast. What a great show. Especially in the beginning, I was really kind of just going, wow, I can't believe we're showing this stuff. But I couldn't believe that this guy has this stuff on his Facebook page. It's amazing. Running for school board. And his wife. Oh, behavior person, analyst. Oh, geez.
I think, you know, as a person who's been in education for a long time, for me, the main thing is sometimes we make mistakes and we have to learn, but it always has to be pointed out. And it was always pointed out to me from different bosses, different supervisors, I mean, from everyone. And sometimes you just really need to be called.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. And when you're not used to being called on things, when you're used to just, flaunting the cash or flaunting the cool stuff, and everybody goo-goo-eyeing on you, yeah, you don't get called out on a lot of your stuff by people in power. But the underlings, us little people, yeah, we're going to call you out all day. And we can be very loud.
Well, we can get louder and prouder and better.
Yes.
So,
yes, we can. And
I don't think we want to light that flame.
Well, we will if we have to. We can light it up pretty good. But yeah, I hope we don't have to, because I think the people will see what's going on and will make their judgment accordingly. Because that's what we do here. We bring you the news and information that is most important to you as the voter, so that you can make informed decisions. Not decisions based on what I believe is true or what Brandy believes is true, but informed decisions based on the information that we've put out there. Please do your own research. Please look up things, and always go about your research trying to debunk what you're looking at. Never do your research looking to prove what you're trying to research is true, because you'll find a ton of it. Try to debunk it, and that's where you'll get good at your research. So what do you think about that?
Love it.
All right, everybody, that's going to do it for today. Really appreciate, again, all of our guests coming on. Robert Hansen, Michelle coming and joining us, Robertson, and of course, Miss Brandy. Yeah, we look forward to another great show next week. We're going to have some more exciting stuff to discuss, and maybe some insider stuff too when it comes to some of this. Oh gosh, I hate to say it, but I'm kind of getting lost here. Hold on here. I gotta start this again. Well, that's going to do it for us here at IPJ the Podcast. A really good show, great week, Brandy. What did you think about this past show?
Loved it. I love hearing from other people, and input is important because you have to have informed decisions. You get to choose which way you go, but you have to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's really important, is knowing what you're talking about, and not just relying on some talking head that you heard and then rehashing those same words as fact. No, do your research and get to the facts. So again, we really appreciate all of you being here and joining us for the show. Please check us out on Apple Podcasts. We're on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. We're all over the place now. We're global, Brandy.
Ooh.
So definitely check us out wherever you can, because here at IPJ the Podcast, it is your voice.
So use it.
Exactly. All righty. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you again soon, Brandy, next week. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.